Okay, mic check, mic check. Let's see if it's working properly. I wonder how long I've been muted for. Oh well. Hey everyone, welcome. Uh, Probably been muted for a long time. I don't know exactly when that happened, but oh well. Unfortunately, very common. Uh, issue to happen during during stream. There's just too much stuff to kind of keep track of all the time. Anyways, I hope everyone's having a great day today. Good week. Um, yeah, I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with things. I'm out of it today. I know I say that a lot. Um, I don't sleep enough, so that's usually why. Yeah. All right. Let me just clean off my brush real quick. So I started doing something different with my brush to try out, based off of something an artist recommended at a portrait society. So I'm trying to leave my brushes soaking in mineral oil, but you definitely don't want to get any mineral oil in your painting. So I'm very cautious about that. So I make sure to clean it all off and get as much of it out as I can. And there's numerous ways to approach that. Alrighty. All right, let's see how we get this going. I'll be honest, it's a little daunting because I'm not so used to doing this stuff. Really, what it comes down to is I need to figure out what area I want to be in focus, and then that has to be the area of like attention, and everything else, can it can be a little less focused. That's fine. Okay, some of this is dry, and some of this, like I figured, is completely wet. All right. Oh well. Ideally, that is not the best scenario, generally speaking. All wet, all dry, or very sectioned parts. This is kind of a mix. Not the greatest option, but oh well, I'll manage. All right, just realized I don't have any red on my palette. That red is so strong. Crazy. Oh, my old art teacher, um, he used to claim that figure drawing and figure painting was the hardest, or figures and portraits were the hardest thing to learn and the most important because um, we're so geared towards people. Um, hold on a second. Okay, we're so geared towards people that we naturally can see all the uh, flaws and all the mistakes in a painting, in a portrait, even if we don't have any training. Whereas when it comes to landscapes and other things, we're much more forgiving about that. I see the logic in it. I'm not sure how right he is about that, but I do see the logic in it. Although I do think that there's an expertise to all these things. If you do it enough, the nuances and the expertise that comes with it is invaluable. And I would not even claim in any way to match that expertise with someone who, you know, has a lot more experience painting landscapes than I do. I remember once I went out to eat with a couple of web designers and well, there were web designers and print designers, and they spent the whole lunch. This is when I was in art school, and I did not care at all. They spent the entire lunch talking about fonts and which fonts they liked and why, and aspects of the fonts that they appreciated and so on. And I completely zoned out on all of it. Fonts still don't I don't find them all that interesting to this day, but back then, 1000% did not find them interesting at all. Which is, uh, in a way, a failing on my end, because the truth is, if you look into fonts, there's a ton of nuance and interesting things there. But if you don't bother to learn it, you're not gonna you're not gonna see any of that. You're not gonna be able to recognize it for what it is. for the expertise that it requires and so on. But I still think landscapes are probably a little more forgiving than portraits are in some ways. You know, because I still think that, if a bush is slightly misshapen, a little whatever, you have a little more room there, I feel like, versus uh, a portrait. If you get get the nose a little wrong or the eyebrow a little wrong or whatever. I don't know. I feel like we people can kind of tell. Phthalo blue is so strong. It literally just takes the slightest amount to tint your paint. It can be a little crazy sometimes. if you notice me, sometimes I paint with the brush out, going straight at the painting, and sometimes almost perpendicular to the painting. That's because sometimes when paint is wet, only way to get it to kind of stick um, to wet paint is to put it to load up the brush a lot, put it on its side, and then you gently uh, deposit the paint down, basically. Excuse me for a second. My computer's being weird. And, mm, Sorry, it's been acting up. Okay, I guess I have to quit Discord right now. Alrighty. Yeah, that's weird. Oh well. I will say this, the idea of like painting everything, all the perspective and everything perfectly, not really looking forward to that. And so it's one of those things where it's like, because of my experience, my past experience in comic books, I have done stuff like this. I've drawn like cityscapes and everything, and you know, I've gotten out the ruler and done all the perspective and everything. Nowadays, I'd do it digitally, but I've done all that. I very familiar with all the 3.2, 1, 2, 3, 4, all that perspective. I'm not saying I'm an expert at perspective, because I'm not. There are people so much better at it than I am, but I've done it. Uh, that's why I know I don't want to keep doing it, so I have to figure out a way of implying it all without actually painting every single element in, which is going to be the big challenge. Having said that, even though I want to imply everything and I don't want to actually paint all of it, I don't want it to be so abstract that it's you know, I don't know how to describe it. I don't want it to be too abstract, I guess. So we have a bit of a heat wave thing happening right now in Texas, and I'm running lights computers and wearing gloves, and it is getting hot in my room. Jeez, was not expecting it to start already. So there's a bit of reflected light happening off of the water here. My head keeps hitting the wire coming out of my camera. So I'm sure that someone with a lot of experience in what's it called, landscape paintings would definitely be able to tell me, oh yeah, you're doing a bunch of things wrong. Like your approach to some of this stuff is just wrong, or maybe wrong might not be the right word. Inefficient is probably the probably the big one. Like I'm probably wasting a ton of time doing certain things that I'm going to end up either being completely redone or something along those lines. Uh, but when when you're figuring your way out through it, sometimes that's the way it goes. Like I said, landscape paintings, not exactly my thing, but I don't mind showing you all that, like, how I make my way through something that isn't exactly my main focus in painting. But my approach is very similar to like my normal approach on things, which is to get the general shapes in, start defining things, and keep all the details till the end, whatever details I choose to put in. So very very similar in approaches to how I normally paint. Like right here, there's a little bit of sky that peeks through, but I'll get that in later. One of the things that I'm trying to keep in mind, this applies to portraiture and to basically applies to most painting stuff. You paint with a larger brush, the tendency, of course, you can mess this up, but generally speaking, the tendency if you paint with a large brush is it helps the overall structure of everything. And in a painting where structure is very important, like this one, I'm going to try and keep using a large brush for as long as I can to keep that structure. Whether or not this brush is large enough is debatable, but it's what I'm going to use. I thought Monday streams were slow, but apparently Tuesday streams are very slow. It's interesting. Allergies still. So for all the little waves and everything, uh, I am for the most part at this stage going to ignore it and just paint the overall colors that I see. Because the idea of painting in all those little wave shapes is not something I really want to do. And it's kind of daunting. So I'll start from the big shape, and then as I go through it, I can uh, I can try and tackle that a little more. For an artist who does a great job of painting water, but like all the little like individual things of the water. Um, Check out Lena Danya on YouTube, uh, and I think Instagram and all that. Yeah, she is great. Her patience is ridiculous. But she has a bunch of these like water droplet paintings or underwater paintings and so on. I'm sure there's a ton of other artists. She's just one that like comes to mind easily for me. But she also has a lot of great videos on like, you know, how to get into oil painting for beginners, which is very useful. And I relied on them a lot when I was younger and getting into oils. Well, younger, technically, but yeah, when I was getting into oils. I don't know how much younger really, but you know what I mean. Hey, Cassandra, right? When I was but a wee babe. Yeah, not really. She hasn't been on YouTube that long. Let's not besmirch her that way. Welcome. How's it going? Long day of moving offices. You're so tired. Oh, wow. Um, that sucks. Hopefully it's for the best though, in the long run type of thing. I hate moving. I've moved so many times in my life, and I'm so tired of doing that. I have moved so many times in my life that I have a lot of like, I've talked to people who have like moved because, their parents were like in the military or whatever it is. And I usually have everybody beat. I've almost never met a single person who has moved more than me uh, in their life, especially not by like a certain age. Last couple of years have slowed down, but up until recently, yeah. Yeah, I'm just working on this landscape, trying to, make my way through it. I am not an expert landscape painter, so this is very much pushing out of my comfort zone. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm not expecting to, I have, I think, reasonable expectations of quality too. I'm not expecting to take the landscape art world by storm or anything. How many times we talking? I mean, uh, let's see. From 2003 till 2018 on average once a year. Um, and before that, at least another, at least dozen times. Um, yeah, probably more. I'm not entirely sure at this point. I'd have to like do the math, and it's a lot. It's a lot of counting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's average. So there was a couple years here and there where I wouldn't move every single year, but then I've had to move at least twice or three times in a single year before, which is just not fun to do. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure there's people who have me beat. There's always someone who's done something more or had it worse or whatever. But, we're comparing to like the quote unquote norm, you know, it's up there. Twice in a year was enough for me. Yeah, twice in a year sucks. I've moved. I'm trying to remember. I definitely moved three times in a year. Did I ever do it four times? Wait, one, two, three. At least three. I don't know if four, but yeah. But twice in a year, that happened multiple times. Um, yeah. That one was unfortunately not like a single time occurrence. uh, hey, hold on a second. This camera shows more now. So just letting you know if you don't want to be on camera, uh, it's showing to here now. Well, right now Cassandra's hmm, a viewer. Like I don't how I'm streaming. I don't know what to tell you. Like I know her from Discord, so that's all. She says hi. Michelle says hi. She's gone as well. She walked out. Uh, I didn't think this through very well. This bridge has like a million little like strut thingies holding it up. Oh, jeez. All right. Oh, I should mention June 9th, we're going to be doing Portrait Artist of the Year paint along. So if anyone wants to participate in that, it's a lot of fun. No pressure to be, like no pressure. It's just all for fun. So if that sounds interesting, if you ever thought, hey, I wonder what it would be like to be on Portrait Artist of the Year, join my Discord and then join the fun on June 9th. Hey, it's starting to get a little bit of a shape. That's cool. Like I feel like even though it's still very, very, messy and everything, some of that depth has been somewhat created. Having said that, this is not in the right place and it's bugging me. All right, quick stretching break. This is the one thing that really sucks about gloves. When it's warm, it makes it so much hotter, like having the gloves on. Let's see. Nope, wrong one. Here we go. And zoom in a little so you can see where things are. It's still very, very rough, but it's starting to get some of its, depth in there. Yeah, this isn't a simple bridge though. Like there's all these support beams, and then every support beam has like a bridge thing sticking out this way. Yeah. All right, is how I keep working on this tonight. I'm going to have to, for the most part, avoid this area for today. It's just too tacky right now. So the paint is starting to set too much, and it's really um, not very workable. I can overcome it. It's not like it's impossible, but it's just not worth it when there's so much more to work on. Just getting another brush out. Alrighty. So generally speaking, I prefer to paint wet into wet. Um, if I could, generally speaking, um, I would have it so my paint only dried at the very, very end when I'm done with the whole painting. However, subject matters like this are a little bit different. And the reason is getting those really straight, sharp, uh, edges and everything are sometimes really helpful to have a dry surface to work on. What's it called? Drafting tape, and a ruler. All those things can be very, very helpful, especially if you're not as good at doing straight lines. Because I, for one, am not very good at that. I will never be a pinstriper. Those people, um, yeah, I don't know how they do that. I might actually try and just draw this out, literally like draw it so that I can, because it's so detailed for some of this stuff. And that's an easy way to kind of get things in the right place. I don't know if it's too dark for you all to see what I'm doing. I hope it's not. Oh, okay, you can see. Cool. Yeah, a lot of the what's it called? A lot of the landscape painters that I've seen, um, they well, I mean, they work in all kinds of techniques, but one of the things I've noticed is a lot of times they will work not entirely, of course, nothing's ever entirely, but they'll do a lot of like working from background to foreground type of thing. Um, Maybe not in the detailing, but definitely in the like modeling stages. Um, just because like and it just makes sense as far as the order goes, as far as painting. But that's not to say that it's always the best way of doing things, but definitely is like a good starting point. Um, there's one painter, what is his name? Uh, I've seen him on Instagram a lot. I really like his paintings, but I'm blanking on his name right now. Does a lot of small paintings, like really small, like 6 by 6 type of thing. But his landscapes and his skies are so pretty, and he does such a great job with the clouds. That's like and fire. Like he does night paintings and stuff. But the reason I'm mentioning him is because he does that thing where um, he he will paint like trees or whatever, whatnot, and then he'll paint the sky through the tree where there are gaps, and you see it's a very unique. I mean, it's a unique look, not unique to him because I've seen a lot of painters do that. But it definitely has a unique look to it overall. And I think that can be a fun addition to a painting. I don't know if that particular thing has a name to it or not. But yeah, I know I've seen it a lot. I know my lines aren't going to be perfectly straight right now. Like I said, that is definitely something. Well, not definitely, but I'll probably address a lot of that later when parts of it are dry, so I can go in and really like put down some drafting tape and get some of those details, clean it up. Excuse me for just a second. In case anyone is not familiar and is wondering, yes, this is not the ideal brush shape and size for a lot of what I'm doing right now. But you know, just because it's not doesn't mean you can't use it. It just means that sometimes it makes your life a little bit more difficult. Hey, Zan, you made it before I finished. Yeah, you did. Welcome. How you doing? I mean, I'm definitely not going to be painting for another hour, but I'm still here for a little bit. You're doing all right? Good to hear. I'm doing okay. This is definitely what's it called? A project that I um, want to say I'm regretting because that's not true. But there's definitely aspects of it that I'm like, I wish I thought that through. You haven't seen me paint a landscape before? Yeah, that's because I don't normally paint landscapes. That's why, like, I'm not even saying that it's mistakes necessarily, but it's choices um, that are just going to make my life harder. You know, like it's like picking bad reference kind of deal. Not that this is bad reference. It's just there's certain aspects of it where I'm just like, oh, I'm going to have to do all this detail that I don't want to do and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't normally paint landscapes, and so you get to watch me struggle my way through it uh, in these streams. Loving the sky and the colors. Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, the sky and the water are what attracted me to this the most. Um, yeah. I'm the one who took this photo, and what's it called? The way that the water like snakes in, and the way that the sky does as well. Um, that's like what made me want to paint this, and that's why I cropped it this way. Because I didn't photograph it this way, but I thought it made for a good crop this way. But yeah, the reason I'm painting this at all is it's theoretically, if I finish it in time and I'm proud of it, it's for a charity, a local charity. So I painted a local, I don't know if monument's the right word, but a local bridge that and lake that, people here are likely to be familiar with. Interested to see how I'll handle the foreground too. Very moody at the moment. Yeah, well, you know, I'm probably going to try and keep it moody to a degree because I like moody, and I don't like painting every little, wave thingy. Uh, I'm I'm only using Phthalo. I'm using my normal palette, which is uh yellow. Right now it's cad lemon, but after that it'll be bismuth yellow. Um, phthalo blue, quinacridone rose, titanium white, and Mars black. So I'm not using any phthalo green or any green, naturally green pigment. Although I will say the black does lean, definitely leans towards the green. And unless you need like the most intense green, you don't really need a green. You can basically mix almost any green you need. Not to say that you have to use a palette where you have to mix. It's worth mentioning that even though that's how I paint, generally speaking, that it's not the only way to paint. A lot of people love convenience colors, um, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. Also, like some people just like different colors because it's easier for them to work with those colors. Uh, my palette, the colors I use, um, I've been told are kind of hard to like control them and get a hold of them, and get the nuances that you might want out of them. Uh, Shan says, I love phthalo colors. Been looking into them more this last week. Is it is it blue something shade or blue green shade? This is just like the regular phthalo, which is it doesn't really specify. Technically, I think it might be the um either the blue shade or the blue green shade, but not yellow and not red. But yeah, it's literally just like it's the base. I hate to say this, the basic one, but yeah, it is the basic one. Let me see if I can get the tube out. Yeah, it just says phthalo blue. It doesn't specify. Pigment code PB15 um, 2. Uh, and the other one I have, mm, I don't know where the other one is. But yeah, to me, it's the most like neutral down the middle kind of thing because I want it to be as flexible as possible. I do have a phthalo green emerald or yellow shade, depending on which brand you're buying from. And it's a very pretty color. I've used it, but the reason I bought that color originally was because it mixed with quinacridone rose makes chromatic black, but I I ended up only using it to make black, so I figured it's kind of silly to have uh, a green on my palette to make black and to never use it for green. So I just stopped using it and bought a black, and I use black now. Mars Black, I've heard I've heard other brands their Mars Black is more, what's the word they used? Matte and grainy. And that has not been my experience with my Mars Black, so maybe I got lucky with Mgram and their Mars Black isn't like that. But yeah, the thing I like about Mars Black is it's a more opaque black than other blacks. It might not be as like black as some of them, but it's more opaque. And a lot of times the darker colors are not very opaque. So that's one of the reasons I like it. That code supposedly leans red, but my phone looks more green. Whatever, it's gorgeous. Yeah, that's the problem. It's very hard to know those with the codes. Like I said, you know, and it's, jeez, sorry, little fly. It's going to change from, you know, manufacturer to manufacturer too. That's the super frustrating thing about paints. So, yeah. There's an artist who she was talking about her CMYK palette, and she was talking about creating a CMYK palette squared, which had like 6 colors instead of 3, which, you know, this instead of the CMY, which is silly to me, but whatever. But I was curious to see the colors that she chose and like exactly how it worked. But she's I guess she's working on a video right now for it. So we'll see. You're just learning to use blacks. You have avoided it for years and have been missing out. You know, there's a lot of like weirdness around black because they say, "Oh, never use, never use black and mix your own and all this stuff." And I understand why they tell students to like avoid blacks in the beginning, um, because it when you use black paint to darken things, it can kind of, make it look dingy or dirty or just lose a lot of the saturation. But here's the thing, right? First of all, when you mix your own black, it does the same thing anyways. So you're not really gaining much. And I know this because I've tested it. A mixed black will do the same exact thing as a out of the tube black. There's no real difference there. And then the other thing is that yes, it does do all those things, and that's very useful when you want it to do all of those exact things, right? Like if you want it to, you know, desaturate your mix and to, do all those things, it's perfect. Do you want that all the time? No, absolutely not. It's really bad all the time, but it's very useful when you want it to do those things. I feel like that's the part that is kind of missed out on. But yeah, I did a test years ago where I mixed my own black. I took um I took a black that was a mixed black out of the tube, and I took two um, black pigments, and I mixed all of them with I mixed all of them with what's it called, yellow, to see if, and white. I did one with white, one with yellow, to see if it, like, if there was a difference. Like, does the black that I mixed, uh, does it like darken the yellow in a cleaner way without making it dingy or whatever, right? And it doesn't do anything different. It's exactly the same thing. So, you know, they all basically did exactly the same thing, which is fine, and it's nothing wrong with that, but it's just this weird myth that, like, if you mix your own black, it's somehow better than if you use black out of the tube. Now, don't get me wrong, there is an advantage where if you mix your own black and you mix a color and you want to darken it, and you're slowly introducing the elements of black, you could darken it without, desaturating it as much, because you'll basically be like seesawing between, like if you use the common one, which is like ultramarine blue and raw umber, what's going to happen is you're going to go, or burnt umber, you're going to go blue. So you're going to go darker and bluer, and then you're going to add burnt umber, and it's going to take it warmer and darker. And then, so you're going to seesaw between them until you get to as dark as you want. So theoretically, you could get darker and still keep more color because of that element. But that's not, really a difference. It's just like, that's a difference. That's just a different way of mixing. That's why it's happening. Did I keep that test? I can imagine it would be really effective visual aid. I don't know if I kept it. I know I have a photo of it somewhere. I don't know if I kept it though. I don't do, I've done color tests, but I've never done the like color swatches where you like, you mix up every single color with the paints that you have. I've never done that. I have done color tests. Like I wanted to test, um, you know, and I recently did a video about this too, about like mixing phthalo and making, oh, what is it? Uh, Cobalt teal, or nearly making cobalt teal. I did that video recently, but I knew the results because I'd done that test on my own time before. Another one was trying to fit, like, I did a test with reds, and I was trying to see, like, do I need to use, like, should I keep, um, what's it called? Should I keep, oh my God, Pyrrole red or Cad red light on my palette, or should I just use um, magenta? And then should I use magenta, or should I use quinacridone rose? And I landed on quinacridone rose because with quinacridone rose and my yellow and my blue, I could mix magenta, and I could mix nearly Cad red light. But in order to get my magenta to to the same saturation as my rose, I would have to have cad red or cad red light on my palette, which meant I'd have to have both magenta and cad red versus just having rose on it. Oh, you saw the phthalo mixing video? Nice. Yeah. So I've done stuff like that before where I'm trying to find like I'm trying to find the best palette. And I said this in my video, like if anybody has a better pigments, if anybody's like, oh no, you know what you should be using? You should be using, pigment X or whatever, Y or whatever, if anybody has that, by all means, I'm open. I'm not I don't have any stock in these particular pigments. They just seem so far to be the best ones. But I am very open to changing, um, you know, to changing my palette if if there are better pigments. And better is of course subjective, but I'm talking about better as in like I want to have a limited palette with the widest range possible so I can use this palette for everything and never have to change with, only for like extreme exceptions. I was hoping, what's his name? Peter, can't remember his name. I was hoping he would respond to my video, but I think I'm too small of a creator for him to, recognize or to see my stuff. But yeah, I bought cobalt teal thinking it was going to be my like blue, my cyan in my palette. Um, and now it just occupies space, uh, you know, in a drawer essentially. It's a beautiful color, but um, I almost never have any use for it. And it's so expensive too that I'm like, I'm not going to use it just to mix it. I'm going to wait till I have like, you know, a project where I'm like, yes, it's going to be, we're going phthalo, not phthalo, we're going cobalt teal on this one. I might have to wait on Thursday and work on something else. It just depends on how dry this is by then, because a lot of this is very, very sticky at the moment, and gonna make working on this very difficult. Zen says, that's the problem I have with dirt off marrying just 3-color palette. There are so many really unique pigments with their own properties and effects. I like having the freedom of packing a limited palette. I like the freedom of packing a limited palette for a given painting. Okay. Um, yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. I mean, and you're right. There's a lot of pigments out there that do a lot of interesting things. This is not the perfect palette for everything. Um, but it is personally the one that so far, um, oh, sort of, not dirt off. I was like, okay, this, um, yeah, it's definitely limiting. And there are pigments out there that have properties that a lot of people would want to incorporate into their paintings. Like, I don't really consider the what's it called? Like, I'm not really considering um, how transparent these colors are, and how their transparency, like how you can use their transparency in a painting, because I don't really use transparency much in my painting process, if at all. Um, so, there's definitely elements that I'm basically ignoring. Um, and I know people like to use a lot of those elements. Like, I know what is it? There's a color that's very popular with some painters. It's the green gold or something like that, where it's like a greenish color that when you um when you thin it out, it kind of gets this gold color or something, you know. It's a pretty color. So yeah, I get that. It's just for I guess for how I paint, so far this is the palette. Like I said, I just want a limited one that gives me the widest range. The other thing worth mentioning is that generally speaking, with a few exceptions, I haven't run into anything where like I can't paint something because of I can't mix the color I need, right? Whereas I've had that in the past with other palettes. For instance, if your only blue on your palette is ultramarine blue, which is a very common blue as a main blue, you can't get cyan. Like, those cyan colors are impossible. It does not have the ability to mix those colors. As an example, I remember I did a painting where I was using student grade paints, and I was trying to do a tomato and an orange that were like next to each other, and I could not get the orange to be as bright. I couldn't mix the, I didn't, not these colors, other colors. I couldn't mix the bright orange that I needed. And so I had to actually like, I mixed the brightest orange I could, and then I had to key everything down. And it was an early painting, so I wasn't really good at that at the time. Today I could pull that off. Then I could not pull that off. But yeah. Yeah, you know exactly what I mean? Yeah, yeah. But like I said, if I have to, the thing is, like with my current palette, right? If I have to paint someone, let's say wearing like a orange reflective a jacket or like a hard hat or like a traffic cone or something like that. Like if I, or, a red fire truck or any of these things, right? Like anything that's like that, like super bright, red or orange color or whatever, theoretically, I can't match those colors. But that's very much in a theoretical stance because unless it's like right in the sun with like, a ton of light on it and like just the brightest thing there, if it's in the shadows, if it's, slightly overcast or whatever it might be, even then I can probably paint the colors I need to make that without having to like key my whole painting to match, right? Like I'm saying, like just straight up matching the color. But yeah, if it's like if I'm painting a fire truck sitting in the sunlight, probably going to have to pull out Pyrrol red or CAD red light or something like that. It's just it is. If I want to actually match the color as close as I can. What's up? Hmm? Um, Zan is on the stream, and I don't know if Cassandra is still here or not. But I'm going to be ending soon. It's pretty late. Yeah. Okay. I'll be done soon. Bonus on using a really streamlined palette is a lot less expenses. Oh yeah, for sure. And my yellow is like the most expensive pigment on my in my what's it called? In my palette. The rest of them are pretty, they're not as cheap as earth pigments, but they are cheaper. But the yellows, yeah, the yellows are expensive. Alrighty. I'm gonna have to call it a night, everybody. It is getting late. It's almost 11. Um, Thank you everybody for stopping by. I appreciate it. Zan, it's good to see you on the stream. Yeah. I have a workshop. Links are below if starting June 20th and June 9th we're doing Portrait Artist of the Year paint along. So join the Discord and you can participate. It's a lot of fun. Anyways, yeah, I think that's it. I'm gonna have to call it a night here. Have a good one, everyone. Oh, and I'll be back Thursday. Yeah. Streaming Thursday and Sunday. So I'll be back.